And like I said, it took me 2 hours.
You are not that ahead.
Right, that was my actual Discord. I thought that was from the video.
But rather a set amount with a set price. So here are your options. If you buy
I won't
the
be able
$10
to do much
premium currency option,
on the card game
you won't
anymore.
have quite enough to buy the
So I
gun.
may as well.
But the $20 option leaves you with a ton of currency left over. You could theoretically buy the $10 and $5 options, but that would involve 2 separate purchases. Plus, the $20 option has a better conversion rate than those two combined. So maybe you should just stick to that one. Soon, it feels like you need a PhD in economics just to figure out the most cost-effective way of buying a little corgi to dangle from your pistol. While it may feel frustrating and unfriendly to the user, this is a form of currency distancing, and it's an intentional tactic that companies use to get you to spend more money. Although it's annoying to figure out which RP options you need to buy a skin, by having to convert to RP in the first place, the real value of the skin remains hidden, as it doesn't feel like you're spending real money. And while it sounds silly, it's surprisingly effective. A more tangible example of this phenomenon is when people overspend while on vacation in a foreign country. While it's easy to manage a budget of $50 American, if you're an American, it's not so easy when that $50 is converted to 65,000 Korean won. Suddenly, it becomes a lot harder to keep track of how much you're actually spending, and within just a few days, your bank account is sending you text alerts, letting you know that you're out of cash. While this trick can be troublesome, it's also one that has an easy solution. Just do the math. Or better yet, have someone else do the math for you. For most games that employ this currency tactic, especially gacha games, the value of each price option has been put into a spreadsheet for laymen like us to easily understand. It's unfortunate that this tactic is still so prevalent, despite heavy criticism from virtually everyone, but as long as people are spending money, it's likely to stick around. Once you get past the struggles of figuring out the true cost of in-game items, you'll run into the next technique developers use to take advantage of players: loss aversion. Imagine you're a few hours or days into a game, and it feels like you're speedrunning through the first series of levels. Thinking yourself pretty talented, you begin to notice that the game is getting progressively harder and harder, until you suddenly reach a point where you can't advance. No matter what you do, you can't seem to beat the level, and all that confidence you had just a few levels ago quickly dissipates. Seeing that you're in a vulnerable state, the game decides that you can use some help, and offers to make your life a little bit easier. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to pay for that help. But since you've been beating your head against the wall all day, you decide to just pay the fee so you can move on with the game. In the world of psychology, this is called loss aversion. Loss aversion operates on the idea that the pain of losing is twice as painful as the pleasure of winning. As a result, players are often willing to take bigger risks or spend money just to avoid the sensation of losing. In a study done by Wolfgang Steinel, a professor of psychology at Leiden University in the Netherlands, Steinel and his team found that, quote, in order to avoid suffering a loss, liars are willing to tell major lies, while in order to achieve a gain, liars stick to more modest lies, trying to increase their chances while still keeping some uncertainty, which may mitigate their feeling of responsibility in case the benefit is obtained. Mobile games are a great example of loss aversion in full effect. Let's take a look at Candy Crush. Every time you fail a level in Candy Crush, you're given the opportunity to replay the level at the cost of one of your lives. Initially, you're given 5 lives, and they automatically replenish after a set timer. The issue is that if you run out of lives to continue playing the game, you have to wait for the timer to tick down and give you a life for free. For those of us who are a little bit more impatient, there's also the option to pay a few dollars to get a full set of lives. Sure, it may not sound that bad, as you do get 5 more tries to beat the level, but if you keep losing, 1 payment turns to 3 payments, turns to 10 payments, and suddenly you've spent $20 to $30 just trying to beat 1 Candy Crush level. Since players are often more willing to keep paying until they beat a level, rather than put their phone away and accept that they're a loser, loss aversion is surprisingly effective. And mobile games aren't the only place where loss aversion is prevalent. The trick can be seen in multiplayer games too. Imagine you're playing Shadowverse, and you're using the starter cards provided by the game. You queue up into matchmaking, and run into a tier 1 meta deck. Obviously, you're going to get demolished. And right after your opponent finishes wiping the floor with you, you vow never to lose to a sweaty tryhard like that ever again. So, you pull out the strongest card at your disposal, one which will hopefully guarantee victory from here on out.
The credit card.
Suddenly, you're spending tons of money on packs so you can beef up your deck and avoid that feeling of losing as often as possible. Whether it's Shadowverse, Clash Royale, or FIFA, this scenario probably sounds a bit too familiar for most people, and it's a somewhat unintended way that loss aversion has affected your decision to financially invest into a game. Finally, there's one last big way that players are tricked into spending money, which is not actually built into the game itself. Instead, we're talking about the social pressures from other members of the community, or even just among your circle of friends. Imagine you're watching your favorite streamer as they roll over and over again to try and get the newest character in Genshin Impact. After a couple of pulls, they get the 5-star character they were looking for and go absolutely insane on stream. The streamer is hyped, the chat is hyped, and for some strange reason, you, sitting behind your computer screen with no tangible connection to this person or the game they're playing, are also hyped watching it all happen live. Suddenly, a thought starts to creep into your head. Man, it would feel so good if I pulled that character myself. So, you launch Genshin Impact and start spending your own money. While it may not seem like much to those watching from the outside, the social pressure to spend money on games is actually pretty significant. No one can avoid the feeling of FOMO when everybody and their mothers have the shiny new toy that you don't have yet. But that social pressure isn't exclusively felt by those watching others pull their dream character. Think back to the example of losing to a Tier 1 deck in Shadowverse. It may not have seemed obvious before, but that's also applying a degree of social pressure to invest in a game for the same reasons. If your friend keeps beating you in cards, and it's not really fun for either of you, you're going to be tempted to buy some cards yourself so that you can have a more competitive match. And while the social pressure isn't completely tied to something a game developer may have control over, those developers definitely benefit from the social pressure around gaming. For example, devs will often sponsor streamers and induce them to play their games on Twitch to give the game more exposure and draw in more players. Oftentimes, for games like Genshin Impact, they'll give them some money to spend so that they can pull over and over and over again until they get the character they want, inducing other players to do the same. This will sound very familiar to those who were around in the days of CSGO skin betting. Essentially, streamers would be invited to gamble on skin betting websites, and to spice up the content, they'd be given skewed odds, which would give them a way higher chance of pulling good skins. Better outcomes means better content, and seeing them win all the time would make viewers think that they could win big too. While game developers aren't going as far as skewing the odds artificially, providing the currency needed to make pulls in gacha games has pretty much the same result. Because eventually, you're gonna get a 5-star. Ultimately, the gaming community itself is one of the most cost-effective tools a developer has at their disposal, and weaponizing peer pressure is generating a lot of income. Hopefully, by now it's clear that no matter what kind of a player you are, or how long you've been playing games for, devs will find a way to make you part with your money.
Watch me win right now. Boom!
Please!
It's important to watch out for these tricks, as it's pretty easy to find yourself spending way more money than you initially intended. As more games are designed around the freemium model, these tricks and psychologist-backed techniques will continue to stick around. While the ethics of ensnaring gamers to spend money can be debated at length, what we do know without a shadow of a doubt is that monetization techniques that prey on your psyche do in fact work. Devs are under constant pressure from managers and investors to generate more profits for them, so it's hard to blame the devs for putting this stuff in their games. Considering that Sony made $2.1 billion during the 2021 holiday season from microtransactions alone, more than they made on physical and digital game sales combined, it's clear that microtransactions are the way of the future. So it's important for players to protect themselves financially and avoid spending beyond their means. While it's fine to spend some money here and there, especially on games you actually enjoy, the most important thing is to do so in moderation. So the next time you're punching in that credit card number, take some time to reflect on why you're doing it and whether it's actually worth it. Because the only thing companies want is you to spend money. So if you do, make sure you actually feel good about it. What are your thoughts on predatory monetization in video games? Do you think it's fine to put gambling techniques in children's games? Or should there be stricter laws around what can be implemented and what constitutes gambling? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. My name's Jonah. See you next time. This video is made possible thanks to our wonderful patrons. Massive thank you to everyone on this list, and shout out to Brendan, Cloud, QB, Foxy, Mauve, Pachana, Shampoo, Spartacus, and Yashichi for being Platinum supporters, and an extra special shout out to Marco for being our Diamond supporter. Happy November! If you want to talk to us, check out our Discord. Or if you want to support our channel and get info on unreleased videos, check out our Patreon. If you want to help us out in a different way, leaving a like, subscribing, and hitting the bell to stay up to date is also appreciated.
I missed a whole lot of their videos. What the hell? YouTube did this on purpose. So that I'd be encouraged to subscribe. It worked.
The car has almost reached the final terminus.
When you enter an arcade, you'll quickly realize that the word sensory overload is not in the vocabulary. Arcades are packed with people, flashing lights, and noise of every kind.
Oh, hello guys.
Aliens
Too late,
dying,
I already
music
took your
blaring,
shit.
explosions, exploding. It can be a lot to take in, but if you listen closely, you'll hear something that cuts through the cacophony. A voice, a human voice. More adult than your fellow arcade patrons, and a little more epic too.
Fatality.
Cyrax means fatality.
The game announcer is calling your name. Before you're able to start playing, you're gonna have to decide which cabinet is gonna get your attention, and more importantly, your money. Any game not in use will have insert coin flashing on the screen, often accompanied by a sound like this, or a voice like this.
Let's go crazy!
What you might not realize is that these games are conditioning you to listen for these sounds to let you know that the game is available to play. This is called attract mode, which can be likened to a PC throwing up a screensaver after you've walked away for a few minutes. Attract mode can take a number of different forms. A montage of gameplay, a scrolling list of high scores, or animated cutscenes designed to draw you in. The goal of attract mode is obviously to get you to walk over and try the game out. What started as 8-bit chimes and sound effects to grab your attention slowly became more sophisticated as arcade technology got better. So while attract mode might have looked like this in the 1970s and early 80s, by the end of the 80s, arcades began to look and sound more like this.
Crazy taxi! Yeah, 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 yeah!
Oh, not this connection.
The first game to utilize a proper in-game announcer, however, was Dragon Slayer in 1983. When idle, the game featured the voice of Michael Rye, a professional voice actor, who pitched the game to prospective players.
A fantasy adventure where you become a valiant knight on a quest to rescue the fair princess from the clutches of an evil dragon.
Up until this point, human voices in video games were absent or horribly distorted. The sound of a real human talking from the machine was sort of a shock when the game first came out, and attracted tons of attention to the new cabinet, as well as some other things that attracted new players. But the trend was set, and as technological capabilities continued to trend upwards, more and more games began including a human announcer. Let's look at fighting games as a perfect example. When you pull up to the arcade, the sounds of punches, kicks, and fireballs are sure to fill your ears. But what you're listening for isn't necessarily the sound of ongoing games, but rather the sound of games that have just ended. After all, you're here to play Street Fighter, not watch other people play Street Fighter. So when you hear that voice start counting down from 9, you better bust your ass over to the cabinet and put your quarter down before someone else snags the spot. In this way, the announcer acts as a salesman. Think of it as a limited time offer. Buy it now, or it might be gone. For this reason, the announcer is a great way for video game companies to ensure that there's always someone inserting their coins into the machine. So even if you're across the room, you'll be able to identify when it's your turn to fight that Sagat player that no one can ever seem to beat. But the announcer isn't just there to let you know that a vacancy has opened up on
Can't
your
believe it
favorite
took
machine.
this long.
They're also there to draw you in to trying something new. Imagine you're a little kid wandering through the aisles. You've got a pocket full of quarters, but you're barely able to see the screens because there are rows of teenagers blocking the way. Suddenly, you hear a voice blasting from a nearby cabinet. And although you can't see what's happening on the screen, the announcer's unbridled hype has you utterly gripped. As a 12-year-old hopped up on Mountain Dew and Sour Keys, the sound of Killer Instinct's Chris Sutherland going ballistic every 3 seconds would have been more than enough to convince me to wait as long as it took to play the game. It's the same as Steve Ritchie's Finish Him in Mortal Kombat.
Fatality.
When you hear that voice line on the machine next to you, you're contractually obligated to look over from your own game to watch Johnny Cage literally break a man in half. And then, when you inevitably lose your spot on the cabinet because you weren't paying attention, no sweat, because now you can line up to try Mortal Kombat for yourself. The video game announcer was as good a salesperson as you could ask for, and as games migrated from arcade cabinets to home consoles, the announcer carried over. When you booted up a game on your Xbox, PlayStation, Dreamcast, or N64, the game would usually rip through an intro cinematic before the game's title would be proudly announced through your CRT stereo speakers. Take Smash Melee as an iconic example. After one of the dopest opening montages in all of gaming, Dean Harrington's voice comes blaring over the intro music and sears the game's title into your head.
Regardless.
Can you hear the music? See the stampede of Yoshis? If not, I guarantee you can hear the voice line. This iconic voice then narrates everything in the game as well. From game modes to character selection, to starting matches, and calling you a failure. When you lose at a minigame, every moment not spent beating up your little brother is permeated by this disembodied voice. So much so that they're a part of the game's canon as much as the Nintendo characters that comprise the roster. Nintendo was so proud of the voice lines that you can even go into the options and listen to each one individually. It's pretty cool. But consoles weren't the only thing that people were playing on. And as PC gaming became more prevalent, a new genre was emerging as Tony Hawk, the first-person shooter. In the late 90s and early 2000s, games like Quake and Unreal Tournament were some of the biggest in the world, and some of that success was due to the game's announcers. On top of the blood and gore of blowing up an opponent with a rocket launcher, the game would also make you feel like an epic badass by listing off your accolades in
Stand clear.
Wiping a room full of enemies is one thing, but hearing someone congratulate you on it makes it so much more rewarding. Crossfire is a great example of this, and although today the gameplay looks like it's being run from a potato,
I just realized
killing someone still feels pretty
Ryder is useless in this game.
I know I've got it. Opening box of a
But when it comes to
Animal
in-game
Test
FPS
6308.
announcers, there's one that just stands above the rest. Does Jeff Steitzer even need an introduction?
Got a head up. That's we're working on a game called Halo Double Triple
Absorption test.
Freaking believable.
Halo is a household name for many reasons. The timeless campaign, the groundbreaking multiplayer, the endless possibilities afforded by Forge and Theater Mode. But underpinning almost everything in the game is this ethereal, omnipresent voice that follows your every move. Apart from being blessed with silken vocal cords, Halo's announcer does more than just excite players throughout the game. He's an integral part of the gameplay. See, in FPS titles, the information you have is limited to whatever is in your field of view, your minimap, and your comms if you're playing with teammates. Unlike in fighting games, where all the relevant information is right there on the screen, FPS modes like Capture the Flag and Oddball require that you move around the map, making it impossible for you to always have your eyes on the objective. Therefore, having a voice in your ear telling you lets you know that the objective needs attending to. So, other than getting excited when you score a
Killionaire.
or telling you that you're
Unfreaking believable.
the announcer also keeps you up to date with what's happening in the game. And that has spread to pretty much every genre. Think about League of Legends. 5 minutes into CSing bot lane, you hear the voice line that all teammates dread.
Enemy killing spree.
Without having to actually watch your teammate being farmed in top lane, the announcer has graciously let you know that it's time to start flaming in all chat and intentionally feeding. Or what about TF2? The administrator is a constant stream of relevant information to you.
Alert! The center control point has been captured. You didn't see
Quietly
any
now.
of them.
Here comes the catch.
Just imagine StarCraft
Come on,
without
we can do it. Let's dance. Push.
or Modern Warfare 2 without
Fire, hands on fire.
the game announcer has been used as a salesperson, a Battlefield commander, and a virtual captain. But there's one genre where the announcer is pretty much the only
Gotcha.
here. Sports games. In the early days, announcers like in NBA Jam and NHL Hits were loosely based on real sportscasts, focused on making the game feel more exciting and a little bit sillier. Nowadays, when you boot up NBA 2K, Madden, MLB The Show, or UFC, it's almost like watching a live broadcast. Heck, Twitch streamers sometimes illegally restream MMA fights and pretend that they're playing the game. The reason they can get away with this? Games have become so immersive that it's hard to tell reality and fiction apart. Much of this is due to the fact that games use real-world announcers. For example, NBA 2K has brought in everyone from Greg Anthony to Chris Webber to the legendary Doris Burke to be a part of the virtual broadcast team. The result? A broadcast almost identical to real life. Plus, as of last year, each stadium has included their own PA announcers to add to the realism. In FIFA, Martin Tyler and Alan Smith helped bring Wembley Stadium to life, and Al Murdoch, the real-life PA announcer for the Vancouver Canucks, has voiced games from Fight Night to NBA Live to NHL Hits to Need for Speed. The voices in sports games help to create an atmosphere that puts the player front and center in whatever they're playing. Whether it's the World Cup, the Stanley Cup Championship, or a UFC title fight, the game announcer realistically portraying everything that's happening makes these games feel real. And for kids and adults alike, few things come close to winning a championship with your favorite team. Announcers have become so pervasive in video games that people are actually willing to spend money to buy a new voiceover. Multiverses has all of the in-game characters available as announcers, so you can pick anyone from Jake Dog to Garnet to Taz to narrate the game. Smite and Cosmonauts also let you pay a little bit of money to have someone do talking in the game, but the game that has taken the announcer to another level Dota has 30 different announcers to choose from, featuring voices from all sorts of different places. You can pick different characters like Axe, Whistlerack, or Crystal Maiden to announce the game. You can get iconic game voices like GLaDOS from Portal, the narrator from Stanley Parable, or the silky smooth voice from Bastion to be your announcer. You can even get Rick and Morty to talk shit about the other team as you go rampage.
Of all the heroes in the game, I think you're the most like this guy. What? Why? Because you have no idea how to talk to women.
And every year, Valve rakes in millions of dollars from players who buy these cosmetic items. After all, the announcer is, in many ways, just another form of cosmetic. A way to dress up an otherwise bland or repetitive voiceover. While the number of games that include purchasable announcers is pretty small at the moment, it's not unrealistic to see more and more freemium games adopt celebrity voiceovers over the next few years. Finally, we come full circle. The announcer has become such a staple of gaming that there are literally
Things are about to get dicey.
built around the
Temple of Wisdom.
One of the first games to utilize this idea was Portal back in 2007. The game features a silent protagonist named Chell and one other character, GLaDOS, the computer in charge of an abandoned test facility, blurs the lines between character and announcer. GLaDOS guides you through levels, antagonizes you, and really brings the game to life. While Portal would certainly have been a smash success with or without a sarcastic AI following your every move, I don't think the game would have the same kind of charm without her. And fast forward 10 years, and we reach the game that epitomizes the announcer as a key component of gameplay, Stanley Parable. Kevin Brighting narrates what is essentially a choose-your-own adventure game. The narrator tells a story, while you, Stanley, have free reign to do whatever you want. You can follow their instructions and let the game run to its logical conclusion, or you can do literally anything else. You can go through the door on the right when you're told to, or you can go through the door on the left. When the narrator says go through the blue door, go through the red door if you want to. Heck, there's even a broom closet you can enter and just stand in, driving the narrator insane for 10 straight minutes.
You can hammer out the details.
Take yourself to home.
When you're ready to pick up the
Gotcha. Game's up.
Stanley
So,
Parable The announcer, narrator, voice god,
Come on, we can do
is
it.
the game, and is often at direct odds with you, the player. It makes for a universally enjoyable experience, regardless of how you play the game, and is a cool meta take on the role of the game announcer. From convincing you to spend money in arcades, to bringing virtual sports to life, to becoming the center point of narrative-driven games, the announcer is an integral part of the gaming world today. While every game and genre utilizes the announcer a little bit differently, we've all had experiences in gaming where we can recognize a certain voice, or where hearing a certain line of dialogue transports us back in time. For me, the voices of Jeff Steitzer and Dean Harrington are the voices that defined a big chunk of my childhood and accompany memories that I'll cherish for the rest of my life. And I know I'm not the only one. Nowadays, you can find guys like Jeff doing custom shoutouts on Cameo.
Redditor. Mommy milk.
Dean Harrington recorded voice lines for the Smash Botting community.
0 Suit 7.
And while we might not play our favorite games as much as we used to, the voice of those iconic announcers will ring in our heads for generations to come. Thanks for watching. What are your thoughts on the video game announcer?
Gamers.
What game, in your opinion, has the most iconic announcer? Let us know in the comments, and make sure to argue with everyone else as to why they're wrong and you're right. My name's Jonah. See you next time.
By the forces of a mysterious
This video
god.
is made possible thanks to our wonderful patrons. Massive thank you to everyone on this list, and shout out to B, Cloud, QB, Foxy, Pachanas, Shampoo, Spartacus, and Yoshichi.
In order for her to be able to find her brother again, she will need Primo Gems. And she could get the... I forgot how the meme format goes. All I know is at the end, he says something, pick your credit card and the 3 digits on the back. And then some quip that makes vaguely enough sense for the context that the voiceover is supposed to be about.
Thank you for completing today.
Similar mechanics across them, but the different systems, art styles, settings, and unique flares to the gameplay is what helps a lot of people find their perfect game. Are you into a super diverse character roster with a lot of different visual themes and over-the-top combos? Killer Instinct. Do you want hyper-violent gore combos with a story mode that functions? Mortal Kombat. Do you just really like Dragon Ball? Thankfully, there's finally a good one. But it's in that similar template of the one-on-one fighting game that you have a lot of wiggle room, places to take the experience and make it unlike anything else, for better and for worse. Weird fighting games are some of the most interesting games on the market for how they take the safety net of fighting games and just stretch it as thin as they can to fit whatever weird idea they have. And today, I want to go over 4 of the strangest fighting games I could find. Now, it should go without saying that they made more than 4 weird fighting games fight habits even in this video. I just wanted to have a
Gotcha. Things are about to get dicey.
Besides, after Punch Out, I
see everything.
a little bit longer.
Let's dance. Ready, steady, go!
Yeah, that single video alone made him the most popular. Is the reason for this popularity right now, huh?
We're gonna be talking or even your preconceived notions
Everyone
of
hold
weird
hands.
fighting games. Those are weird for their presentation and mechanics. This game was made by business based on an incredibly popular anime that just happens to be one of the strangest fighting games of all time. It had to be based on my favorite anime.
What?
God, I love Fist of the North Star! I am not an anime guy, by any stretch of the imagination, but Fist of the North Star is so good! The quintessential 80s manime, Fist of the North Star is everything I could ever want out of a piece of media. Hyper-violent martial arts in a post-apocalyptic setting is such a specific combination that Fist of the North Star does perfectly. This may sound like a blatant ad by me to get you interested in reading or watching Fist of the North Star, which you can do with the ongoing reprint series released by Viz or on Crunchyroll for free. Focus on the topic at hand, Hokuto no Ken for PS2. Seeing as it's one of the most profitable media franchises of all time, thank you very much, you fucking pachinko demon, Fist of the North Star has had a healthy amount of video games, spanning RPGs, fighting games, visual novels, Warriors games. Fist of the North Star Legacy of the Savior for PS1, which defies explanation. Fist of the North Star is well-trodden ground in the history of video games. It wasn't until 2005, however, that Arc System Works, the team behind Guilty Gear, Blaze Blue, Dragon Ball FighterZ, and Persona 4 Arena, were given the job of making a Fist of the North Star fighting game, with a PS2 version coming out in 2007. This game has a roster made up of 10 of the most popular characters from the original manga, or as I like to put it, there are no Land of Ashura arc characters. These characters include Kenshiro, Kung Fu Jesus, Rao, Kung Fu Satan, Toki, literally Kung Fu Jesus, Jackie, and many more. This game has a few different modes.
Quick.
Survival, and what
Here comes the catch. Come on, we can do it.
I mean, it's all in Japanese, so I'm not exactly the target. First things first, and I know this is just my mind talking, but to me, this is the most beautiful pixel art fighting game ever made. The detail in every aspect of the animation, character design, and backgrounds is unreal. This game looks fantastic, even today, and the art direction has so much to do with that. Every character and stage is chock full of fun references and details for fans of the franchise, including some specific moves only doable on certain characters while playing as other characters. As an example, Jackie has a command grab that can only be used against the character Shin. Itself is a recreation of the speech that Jaggy gives to Shin that makes him turn against Kenshiro. And the best part? It's completely worthless. Only works in one matchup and isn't even useful there. One more accurate change that actually benefits the character is the Holy Nanto Emperor, Souther, or Souther, or Souther. There's a near infinite amount of ways to pronounce his name. He has the Holy Emperor's armor, which makes him immune to the effects of Hokuto Shinken that make you do the meme. If Kenshiro uses the special move that kills the opponent after 3 seconds on Souther, it does nothing. Let me put it like this. There's a character in this game named Yuta who has 2 assist characters that he can call out. Yuta can also accidentally hit one of them, Dargle, and then the next time you call him out, Dargle will hit you instead. Then, the next time you call Dargle out and he tries to hit you, you can use your level 1 to kill Dargle just like Yuta does in the manga, which means you can't call him out for the rest of the fight. This game was made with such a love and appreciation for Fist of the North Star that comes through in every second of gameplay. That love and
I know I already have a team for Sucrose, but I fucking forgot.
No, I'm not talking about character-specific command grabs or actively gimping yourself. The 7 stars of death are always present below your character, and if you're hit with specific moves, you can have your stars broken. Break all 7 and the final star of death appears below you. If you then land your deadly move, you kill the opponent instantly. In most fighting games, instant kill moves are either overly flashy and impossible to hit, or just flat-out gags. In Hokuto no Ken, they're pretty much the bread and butter of the entire game. Stars can recover between rounds, but not all the way, so if you're smart in what attacks you use and when you use them, you can start a round, break their last stars, and kill them early. Those deadly moves as well are filled with so much appreciation for the source material, from Ken's 100 cracked fist actually hitting 100 times, Souther's deadly moves changing depending on the stage he's on, Ray having like 3 different versions of his deadly move, because you can really tell he was getting more popular than Kenshiro at this point. Even Shin has a special move recreating his death from the manga. That sounds like a spoiler, but trust me, Kenshiro getting revenge on his lifelong friend who kidnapped and then supposedly killed his girlfriend is the inciting incident of the story. It's like spoiling Raditz.
Wait for my signal.
So you may be wondering, wow, Jack, can you shill for Fist of the North Star any harder? God, if only they would let me. But more pressingly, okay, Jack, why is this game so strange then? Well, the answer is honestly pretty simple.
Who's our target this
Hokuto no
time?
Ken is the most broken functioning game ever made. It doesn't crash, it doesn't delete your save file, the game functions as intended, but the way it's intended to function is completely broken. Every character in the game has an infinite combo. These infinite combos are not fast. They take the whole round to execute, oftentimes more than a round, leading to lots of timeout finishes. Characters like Toki and Rei are infamous for the fact that getting hit by them once allows them to dribble the opponent like a basketball. Let's talk about those two. So, Toki in the manga is the original successor of Hokuto Shinken, but abdicates his position after falling terminally ill from radiation poisoning. Again, not a spoiler, you learned that before you learn his name. In order to make him lore accurate, Toki is the strongest character in the game by a wide margin. He has 3 different counters, a reflector and fireball absorber that allows him to automatically break a star. Tons of mobility options, including a full-screen 8-directional dash. Tons of moves that break stars automatically. Amazing special moves that either finish
I just realized I should have used that.
Great moves.
I should have used my resin for getting stuff for...
meaning you're always in range. As if that wasn't enough, Toki also has the best fatal KO in the
open
game
up the
that hits on
interactive
both
map.
sides, full screen, and is near impossible to avoid. You know he's the best character in the game when the official wiki lists one of the only reasons to not play him as a loss of popularity. And as for Rei, he is potentially the funniest move in any video game.
I need water. I can't believe I still don't know the freaking website name for the official interactive map. Saito. I guess everyone's looking for Rikishaga mushrooms because of fucking Wanderer. As for me though, I'm going to the desert. Fuck, now I want to listen to rivers in the desert. For no good reason, all because I said the word desert. I was gonna do something, but I forgot.
It's now or never, and I've got to make my decision. This time could be my moment. This is a mirage or a chance to fulfill my vision. A river in a dry land, the land is in a lost hand. A heartbeat for demon.
That lyric makes way too much sense. Because an ace coming up on the river, which in poker Texas Hold'em, a river is what you call the final card that gets revealed in the final round of betting.
Don't ask why I'm ready, but I'm ready to strike them down now. I'm just a new start. There's no time for
And then and you have like a double ace hand. But like looking at the cards right now, you believe your opponent has something like a royal straight or something. A straight flush or something. A 4 of a kind is the only thing that can beat that. Now we need it, a heartbeat for a team, man. Oasis in Dreamland. Remind us what we're here for. Creating new life. Creating rivers in the desert. I need 60. How many can I find in the desert?
My heart is a furnace, not a selling. My word of God, wait, one goes
There's
what
80, apparently. This might be a problem.
The boss is so free and fair.
Yeah.
Don't ask why I'm ready, but I'm ready to strike them down now. The time for a new start is constantly drawing nearer.
There are some around Aru Village.
A river in a dry land.
Now I'm gonna complete the rest of the card challenges first before I go do this. Since I'm almost done with all of them. What I need. Gotta clear my head of anger and greed. A place to refresh heart and mind. Can I find some time? I'll start with another rematch against this bastard. Land, the justice in a lost hand. And I hope of you. Whoa! I never realized the cat I'm gonna fight shows up there. Remind us we're here for creating new life, creating rivers in the desert. I just realized Jean could use a sword in this deck. I'll be sure to change the deck after.
Tukso, hindi mo kayang
Fuck off. Actually, I want to listen to it again.
The threads of your fate lie in my hands.
It's not with never, and I've got to make my decision. This time it could be my moment. Is this a mirage or a chance to fulfill my vision? A river in a dry land.
No rest for the wicked.
The last is in a lost hand.
A
No escape!
I'm giving a balance, but I'm standing on razor's edge now. Go quick, or my life is over. Contract is them. I'm out of his build of vision. Don't ask if I'm ready, but I'm ready to strike them down now. At just a new start, there's no time for indecision.
This is destiny.
Oh shit, I meant to play this card first. Whatever.
Delve into destiny.
My word of conflict. One goes, what keeps me going?
Leaving so soon?
Take back what I lost to. The boss is so free and fear. Don't ask if I'm ready, but I'm ready to take them down now. That time for a new start is constantly drawing nearer.
Fate is upon you.
Cool drop of water, so I need.
An eye for an eye.
Head of anger and greed. A place to refresh
Let the wind lead.
my mind. Can I find some time? In rivers and dry land. Oh, I am going to swear. I thought this guy was the active character. Never mind. Boom.
Can't run from death. An eye for an eye.
He has potentially the funniest move in any video game ever. See, he has a fairly standard Shoryuken. It's an alright move, not one of Rei's better tools, but does the most damage of any move in the entire game. Not to the opponent, to the game. If you do an aerial boost with this move after performing a great shoot attack, the move will hit an infinite amount of times. which causes the arcade board to overclock and start getting really, really hot, which can either damage the arcade machine permanently or make it burst into flames.
What?
The wiki warns you. Don't use this move on real hardware, it could destroy it! Hokuto no Ken, on a fundamental level, is not a good fighting game if you look at it in the way that most people look at a fighting game. But Hokuto no Ken succeeds in spite of itself, despite being completely busted in every sense of the word, with infinites, broken characters, and a game system that is loose enough to allow every character to do everything. Hokuto no Ken is still one of the most beloved fighting games of all time, and surprisingly,
No
it's
escape.
for all those reasons. In the fighting game community, there is a term called kusoge, literally translating to shit game. Kusoge started as a disparaging remark made towards low-quality trash.
I swear by my sword.
Latched onto it and changed the definition. Now Kusoge refers to shit game. That is fun to play nonetheless. And pretty much every defining feature of a kusoge is found in Hokuto no Ken. Infinites, unbalanced characters, and the ability to dribble the opponent like a basketball. Hokuto no Ken may not work like every other fighting game, but it's all the better for it.
No escape.
Anime fighting games are a dime a dozen.
Everyone,
But Hokuto no Ken being such enjoyable trash is what makes
threads
it
of your-
stand out. Hokuto no Ken tournaments at EVO and other such fighting game events are less fighting game competitions and more so performance pieces, with people having a lot of fun getting hit with those basketball combos. They'll play other games, take selfies, even attempt to bribe the opponent into dropping the combo, which makes this game so much fun to see. There's also the chance you're going to see the greatest fighting game match of all time, like this beautiful 240p Kenshiro and Rei match. Everyone who plays it knows what Hokuto no Ken is. No one is going in expecting a well-balanced, fair, and inoffensive fighting game. Hokuto no Ken is utter chaos from the start of the match to the end. It can be enjoyed for what it's intended to be, but ignoring those flaws is ignoring what makes the game the most fun. It's a broken,
Oz,
ugly
reveal
mess of a
thyself.
game, but in a sea of bland, paint-by-numbers anime fighters, being the most finished, insane example of one is a mark of pride. Think of the great fighting game rosters of all time. You have Street Fighter's simple yet brilliant archetypes that shaped the entire genre, Tekken's mix of intense martial artists with blood feuds spanning generations, and the best character in any video game ever,
This is
and Mortal
destiny.
Kombat. Insert barb about Mortal Kombat ninjas here. Oh crap, that's
No
stage direction. But where's the heavy metal fighting game? Oh, no, not you, Weapon Lords. I mean real heavy metal. BCV, Battle Construction Vehicle, is exactly the fighting game that the people have been begging for. Swapping out footsies,
Let me
wake-up
scrap.
combos, and Okies for a 2009 Caterpillar DN5 Crawler Bulldozer. Now, the immediate assumption with this was, oh man, this is a fighting game based on an anime, just like Fist of the North Star. Well, if you can believe it, because I certainly did not,
I think they win.
Construction Vehicle is not based on any pre-existing property. I was completely ready to believe that this was the game version of a manga that ran for like 8 pages and had an anime that lasted 2 days. To the point I was convinced people
What
close to me
you
were just
There we go.
lying
Must
when
one
they said
day
this
be
game wasn't
paid.
based on anything. But somehow this game just manages to exist. Battle Construction Vehicle was released in June of 2000, a mere 3 months after the launch of the PS2 in Japan. It's so old that the game is noteworthy for being one of the first to switch over from CD-ROMs to DVD-ROMs. Riveting! The game eventually came stateside after it was imported from Europe. Yeah, this game never got localized in America and was instead only localized in Europe a full 3 years after its initial release. The most noteworthy thing to come out of this game's European localization was the fact that every character in the game was given a thick British accent.
You're tough, Gramps. Listen
Got
to
it.
me.
Okay,
See your
I have a game
father.
plan.
I beg you, young master. Shut it. Gramps, I left because I didn't want to do just that. So he's dead. Still no reason to change my mind.
What a heap of junk! The controls on this thing suck!
Oh boy, they translated it from one language I can't understand to another. How are you supposed to trust them when they can't even pronounce it right? Echo.
Got it.
Grow up!
Okay,
So the story of the
I have a
game is
game
that you
plan.
play as Hayato Kongo, an incredibly British name, the heir to the Kongo Construction Company. Cannot stress enough how few Ks there are in that title. You want to carve out your own path in life, but after your father dies, you have to take over the family business and stop the evil construction company from evilly constructing buildings. Watch as they nefariously get zoning permits. Our first match, and we really get to feel what it would be like to fight someone in construction equipment. Oh my god. You know what? I'm glad there's an obscure game that's also
Need
terrible.
my help
Way
as
too
usual?
many hidden gems. I want some hidden fool's gold. So you control the game with the D-pad and attack with square, triangle, and circle, and use the X button to block. Each attack button corresponds to a direction for your construction vehicle to attack, and if you get hit enough, you get to do a super move. If the game gets stressed out, it will put you in a clash where some indecipherable British noise happens and you probably have to hit a button. I don't know. This only ever happened once and I never figured out how to actually trigger it, so for all I know this was a shared illusion we're all having right now. So these sound like pretty simple controls, but is there any hidden depth? This is a game all about hitting construction vehicles together. Do you really think there's going to be any hidden subtleties? The movement in this game may be the worst that I've ever experienced. It's honestly kind of impressive somebody heard the criticism, this character controls like construction equipment, and thought that would be a good thing to make a game out of. That's one thing you can't hold against this game. It accurately depicts what it would be like if two excavator drivers wanted to fight. You move so slowly and awkwardly in this game. You're constantly veering off course, slamming into walls and trash left on the field. It's an absolute pain to control. Even worse, the game has the worst camera possible. It's constantly shifting throughout the fight.
You can bully me?
The camera changes, the controls don't. It's so disorienting and throws you off your rhythm that it's impossible to actually get in and do damage. That's compounded by the problem with actually attacking. So I don't block because I believe in myself, so that leaves me with just the attack.
Animal test 6308.
But the square and circle buttons attack from side to side, which is completely useless in about half the vehicles since they can only attack forward. So really, you only have the triangle button to attack with. Except these are the frailest construction vehicles ever made, since being attacked makes it so your own attack gets interrupted. That means fights are often just complete steamrolls in either direction, depending on who gets the first hit in. If you get the first hit, you just hammer triangle over and over, tank a super hit or two that don't do enough damage to actually threaten you, or get hit first and have to sit there for the next 90 seconds until you lose. There will be some fights where you genuinely don't feel like you can do anything because they have a smaller, faster vehicle that can keep hitting you with super attacks since they also charge quicker on smaller vehicles. And I think that the worst thing I can really say about this game is that despite being about one of the most primally stupid and fun ideas that a toddler would come up with, making heavy machinery hit each other, it's really boring! The only spice to these fights are the super moves, but once you've seen one, you've seen them all. You'd think they're gonna be really silly and out there after seeing the kendo stick one, but that's the highlight. Everything else is just a letdown that gets to be a drag after the second or third time you see it. Outside of those super moves, the fights just evolve into way too realistic battles of two water heaters trying to do the tango. It's painfully slow, and everything about the game lets down how silly the concept is. There's only like 5 or 6 vehicles in the game, and half of them all control the same. The fights aren't flashy or interesting. The story is the most cliched anime plot you could think of. They throw in a dog who drives a crane, and it's still boring. I played through the whole story mode in about an hour and a half, and the only thing of note is that Mr. Evil Construction is bad, and the girl that you want to date is also his daughter, and the game really makes you sweat it up until the last possible second to say, by the way, you are adopted, so if you do
Into the fire!
it's not weird. There is a passionate gay sex scene, and even the people watching don't look interested. When you hear there's a construction vehicle fighting game, you think, well, that's gotta be totally ridiculous. And then you see that it's mostly played straight. Sir, this is not a game, this is 2 construction vehicles smashing into each other. Do you find something funny about that? This game is funny and ridiculous and worth your time for the first 30 seconds of the first round you ever play. And after playing 16 chapters of this, it never goes full circle to be so bad it's good. For the next game, it's time to go back to your favorite thing and mine, history lessons. Les Miserables was written in 1862 by French novelist Victor Hugo and covers the events of French life from 1815 to 1832, culminating in the June Rebellion of Paris. The novel follows characters like Jean Valjean, a man who spent 19 years of his life in prison before becoming a mayor, surrogate father, and revolutionary. Fontaine, a woman abandoned with her child by her lover who is forced to work for Madame and Monsieur Thénardier, eventually selling her teeth, hair, and body to afford the increasing costs of living, before passing away in Valjean's care. You have Javert, a ruthless cop who follows Valjean to the ends of the earth in a desperate bid to throw him back in jail, only to end up killing himself after being shown mercy by Valjean, too proud to accept the object of his hatred being the only one responsible for letting him live. The book is filled with real human emotions, struggles, and hardships, triumphs against the cold indifference of a society that would see a man as capable and with such capacity for good as Jean Valjean and condemn him to a life of misery for a single mistake. A book that seeks to sharply criticize the time it was written in, going after society for burning through its people and leaving them in darkness, while still leaving the light of human decency to keep us going, in characters like Muriel taking in Valjean after he gets out of prison and forgiving him for stealing his silverware, to juxtapose the relentless and dogged pursuit of Javert, who will never let Valjean let down his past, or in the Thénardier's insatiable greed and lust for wealth, contrasted by Valjean's own unending willingness to help other people. There's a reason it's considered to be one of the greatest works of the 19th century that I've ever read. It's been adapted into hundreds of play productions, no less than 8 film adaptations, even an anime adaptation, which, I'm pretty sure, if Victor Hugo saw, would fucking kill him. Also, there are a pair of sequels that were not written by Victor Hugo that are to be taken as seriously as my immortal
Written in the stars.
But it is a shame because these adaptations, however good they may be, always seem to miss the core that the original story so poignantly put in its preface. So long as there shall exist, by
Delved into
virtue of
destiny.
law and custom, decrees of damnation pronounced by society, artificially creating hells amid the civilization of Earth, and adding the element of human fate
As
to
you
divine
wish.
destiny, so long as the 3 great problems of the century, the degradation of man through pauperism, the corruption of women through hunger, and the crippling of casual play,
I must leave
complex
no stone
demand inputs
unturned.
are unresolved. Not once in any adaptation have they ever mentioned Valjean has a 360 command grab. Cosette never even attempts to pull off her level 3 hyper combo, despite it being clearly stated on page 225 that she has full bars, and there isn't even so much as a wink or a nod to the most important character they keep cutting out, Robo Valjean.
What?
It's like literacy is dead or something. Arm Joe! There are some fighting games with far-out concepts, but at the very least you can rationalize how they got there. Fight Crab, Waku Waku 7, even something like Battle Construction Vehicle. All of these at least make sense that someone would want to see these things fight. But the characters of Les Miserables? It takes a special kind of freak to make this sort of connection, and it took Takase, a Japanese indie developer, to make it happen. Arm Joe, which is a corruption of the Japanese name for Les Miserables, is a standard 1v1 fighting game where the major characters of the story duke it out to prove something? The futility of fighting against society? Maybe just that a game about French revolutionaries who can do Hadoukens is possible. Going through the arcade mode as Javert, I got to see the fact that, no, this is not just some slapdash job putting Les Miserables characters over other fighting games. They went through real trouble to make this an accurate game to the book. Now, there are some exceptions, like the Thénardiers, who at the end of the play see the wife dying in prison and the husband exiled from France to become a slave owner in America, after having worked Fontaine into her deathbed and attempting to blackmail Valjean. And in this game, he does have a very powerful fart attack. You also have Cosette, Valjean's adopted daughter, who uses him as a projectile. For every one of those, you have Marius's level 3, which takes the song Empty Chairs at Empty Tables, a heart-wrenching number where Marius laments and believes his revolutionary friends died for nothing, which the game
As a good night
reimagines
show.
as a fucking skeleton parade. Enjolras can drop the revolutionary barricade on you,
An
and
acceptable
I was fully
loss.
prepared going into this to make a joke about how they turned Javert's suicide into a level 3.
Really?
But then I realized, oh wait, this
Guess he
body
doesn't
splash
care much
move,
about Mona.
that's him throwing himself into the river. Of course they'd include that as a move. No, his actual level 3 was summoning a swarm of meteors. You know, just like in Dog Eat Dog. Also, I can't stress enough how you think it would be the easiest thing possible, but this game doesn't feature any music from Les Miserables. I don't know, guys, I don't think Takase was that big of a fan of Les Mis in all honesty. My arcade run was going absolutely fantastic until I got to the fight with Valjean. In the story, Valjean is described as strong as 4 men, which was translated into gameplay as him only needing 4 hits to kill me. I gotta say, it was an incredibly bold choice to make the ending of Javert's story mode the canon ending where Valjean beats the fuck out of him. If you do manage to get past Valjean, good luck at that, you're gonna get to fight Judgment, the real final boss. He is not any character from Les Mis. Instead, he's the character Yojiro Hanma from Baki the Grappler, who is so busted in every sense that he's nearly impossible to beat. I love how Takase couldn't think of a way to make the inescapability of society's wrongdoings into a final boss, and just found a different, really strong guy from a manga he liked and made that the boss instead. He can combo you while being hit. That's just what we're dealing with here, folks. I can say that after playing this one-man-made indie fighting game from 2006 based on a French novel's arcade mode, it's actually really, really fun. This game is so janky and weird with moon jumps, super hard inputs, and random damage numbers. But it's really, really fun, guys. You don't know the simple pleasures of doing flash kicks as Javert or seeing Cosette do a picture-perfect RKO, or Pon-Pon. Pon-Pon! It's such an anomaly in how this game shouldn't work as well as it does. The sprite art is passable to nearly broken, backgrounds are sometimes just photos of real places, the characters' names are in English, the text is in Japanese, and the characters talk in French, but God, it's just really fun to play! Armjo is a game that needs to be played to be believed. There's nothing else quite like it, and it's the perfect example of something being better than the sum of its parts. If you looked at any individual element from this game in a vacuum, from the mechanics to the artwork to the description of the game, it sounds like a mess, but when it all comes together, it's a mess, but it's so enjoyable that you don't really care if the
implementing battlefield control strategy.
Valjean is firing a laser beam in 19th century France. It's too
Animal
good to be
hypostasis
badass,
emulation.
but also too confident to be broken. Now, let's talk about you. Yes, you. I've seen you there the whole time. Pervert, what keeps you from playing fighting games? Fighting games are super cool. They're fun to watch. The community sometimes isn't tearing itself apart, so what's stopping you? Well, if you're like most people, the answer is pretty simple. Fighting games are hard. You may not want to memorize hundreds of move inputs, lack the dexterity to pull them off, don't want a flowchart's worth of options to get out of guard. Why isn't there a fighting game for the low IQ troglodytes who like fighting games but don't like playing fighting games? Dive kick! Born out of a 16-hour play session of Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and delirious jokes taken too far, Dive Kick's name doubles as a tutorial. You can dive, which is really more of a jump, but don't be a narc, and kick! Okay, we definitely got that one right. Every round ends after a single kick, because when all you can do is dive and kick, and you can't even do that right, what's the point of continuing? That's all there is. If you're not diving, you're kicking, and if you aren't dive kicking, you're seriously missing a step. So, what is there to talk about with a game whose control scheme can be summarized in under 3 words? Well, considering I cobbled together a tier list for this game, you can guess there are some complexities. For starters, not every character just dives and kicks. No, the characters of dive and kick do that, but then you have the massive swinging kicks, Dr. Scholl's and multi-directional kicks, and Stream's corkscrew kick. Then there are characters with gimmicks that would from all things both dive and kick, like Jafale getting a larger head every time he lands a kick, or Markman scouring the ground for parts to make the officially licensed dive kick fight stick. Every character has 2 super moves, a super state, and a whole boatload of intricacies. For the record, I went with Baz for my first arcade run because, oh, Andy's super fun getting to swing all across the stage, but I think my favorite is Dr. Scholl's. Not only is her kick super easy to land and her multi-directional dive super tricky to learn, but she's also a massive send-up to the best fighting game character of all time, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 Dr. Doom. Dive kick is a super fun and intense mind game of trying to get your opponent to slip up before you do, with all the fun of a normal fighting game packed into only 2 buttons. You have footsies, range control, approach options, everything a normal fighter has, just bundled into perhaps the easiest to understand fighting game available. The game's developers set out to make a game where every single round gets the same reaction that a buzzer-beater last-second turnaround at an EVO tournament would get. And it's incredible that the game got the chance to have that sort of reaction at EVO itself. That's right, not only did this game get to appear at EVO, but CEO, Combo Breaker, any fighting game tournament worth its salt was showcasing what Dive Kick could do. That's on top of all the other systems at play, like double KOs, the timeout system, and fraud detection, which I think is the perfect time to talk about what really makes this game amazing. This is a fighting game made to celebrate the community around fighting games. Almost every character in the game is either a reference to a famous character or in-joke in the fighting game community. Heck, a few characters just are the people from the fighting game community. You have Jafale, based on CEO tournament organizer Jafale, whose massive ego served as the inspiration for his increasing head size gimmick. Markman being Mark Julio, a Mad Cat spokesperson who literally builds a controller mid-match. Mr. N is based on Marn, who killed the Guilty Gear competitive scene for a time thanks to match fixing, and was punished by being on the receiving end of the best fighting game clip of all time.
Bionic arm! Bionic arm! OTG! Bionic arm! Giving set! He has another chance! He's done!
Even the game's final boss is based on Seth Killian, making him the only man with 2 different fighting game final bosses named after him. The in-jokes don't even begin to end with the character. This game has a gem system to enhance your moves based on a fucking ancient controversy with Street Fighter Cross Tekken's on-disc DLC. The backgrounds are filled with tons of references to community in-jokes like When's Marvel, character quotes referencing fighting game insider terms, and the fraud detection and choking alarms. If you manage to win not a single round against your opponent 4 times in a row, you'll be branded a fraud, and if you lose again, well, nothing happens, but everybody knows you're a fraud. The choke alarm is the same, but happens when you win 4 games in a row, and then immediately lose 4 games in a row. All of these jokes and references, not all of which being especially flattering, come together to make a game that filled a slot that no other had before. This was a game that loved its community as much as the community loved it. Dive Kick was the first real game to look at the fighting game community as a community, and most importantly, poke fun at itself. Fighting games are serious business. It's a sport to a lot of people, and there's nothing wrong with getting passionate and heated about something you train day in and day out for. But at the end of the day, just like with sports, there's such a thing as taking yourself too seriously, and that goes doubly for video games. Dive Kick, from its flash game presentation, simplistic controls, and caricatures of prominent fighting game iconography, is one of the only competitively viable fighting games that isn't meant to be taken too seriously. However, just because you're not supposed to take the game seriously doesn't mean the developers didn't take it seriously, as, in a shocking twist, Dive Kick was one of the first major fighting games to include rollback netcode. Anybody currently not using tape to hold their glasses together is very confused as to what rollback netcode is, so let me explain. Rollback netcode is the infrastructure of a game's online element that makes it so instead of applying a delay to your move so that every character moves as if the game was being played locally, each character performs their action and then it just takes a moment for the animation to play out for the other character. Have you ever had a video buffer while the audio continues and then the video speeds by super fast to catch up? Yeah, it's kind of the same thing, but with Ryu. It's famous for making online fighters run smooth as butter, and for not being in Dragon Ball FighterZ. Thank you very much, Arc System Works. Dive Kick, a small-scale indie game with graphics that their mother would call, oh, good, but simple, and a control scheme made for play on Donkey Kong bongos, had rollback netcode years and years before it became the standard across fighting games. This led to the game having a super thriving online scene with weekly tournaments hosted in-game that people would practice at, and practice they did. It can be argued that in its heyday, Dive Kick had one of the most cutthroat competitive metas of all time. The lack of systems at work meant that the game often came down to simply who played the game better, and it was a massive success. Nowadays, Dive Kick is somewhat unfairly looked back upon as a novelty by the wider gaming landscape, similar to games like Goat Simulator or Surgeon Simulator. In reality, the community it not only cultivated, but celebrated, saw it for what it was, a love letter to fighting games as a whole.
Let the curtain of night descend and place you into everlasting perdition.
All the games are bad. I want main stage basketball combos in Hokuto no Ken. I want the crowd to take a bathroom break during the BCV finals, arm joke brackets decided by who can best recite the song Empty Chairs at Empty Tables, and Dive Kick because it's a real fighting game. Let's go, Crappy Evo 2023!
I will protect you.
Oh, nice.
Leave it out to me. It is as the stars foretold. Delve into destiny.
Two Timmys?
Nice and spicy.
Special, you crazy. Alright, let's see how fate will favor me. Not that much.
Written in the stars. Think you can bully me?
Ouch.
As you wish.
Heh. Hey, why doesn't Noelle have her burst ready yet? After you switch characters, if the character you switch to does not have energy. Oh, they need to have 0 energy specifically. I see. I misread.
Leave it all to me. I summon thee!
No, I got overloaded. This is fine.
Think you can bully me? I'm a rock!
He ended her round. Dang it. Whatever.
Surrender your soul to eternal shadow!
Eh?
You're toast! Yeah!
I see.
I will protect you.
That is your choice.
As a good knight should.
Oh shit, how is it already round 6? No way. Well, I guess yes way. This is my stall team after all. And this team is built to be able to handle sudden character switches as well. With Diona being a thing. Whoa, only one? They do stack. Toryu was telling God's honest truth.
But a small thread in the grand tapestry of fate. Diana Special!
You ain't getting out of this one. That easily.
I will protect you.
Bucko.
Water! Fate works in mysterious ways.
It sure does.
Can't keep my eyes open.
Ah, I still got him. Achieve victory within 6 rounds. Epic.
How did my Augdeva Ertelung fail to foresee this outcome?
GG no re. Official. Where's the gosh darn charger of this thing? There it is.
If you ever want to trade tactics, I'm always
No,
ready.
this isn't it as well. Dang it. What the fuck? Shut up, Mado. Dang it, I hate her idols. Ah, there we go. Right, 2 characters left.
Alright, let's go for a round.
Wait, was it 6 rounds again? Or 5 rounds? Oh great, that's another overload team. Maybe Diona should be first. And then Noelle. Oh well.
I will protect you.
Count for stuff like these happening.
Steady as stone. I don't get your strategy, Mr. D-Luke, sir. Oh, yeah, I meant to get rid of that card. I must leave no stone unturned.
I should preemptively prepare for...
Scratch that. This is destiny.
Really?
Written in the stars.
I didn't think this through enough.
I will protect you.
Oh wow, this is still good.
I must leave no stone unturned.
Arg, he's gonna overload me.
As a good knight should.
Oh no, he's switching to Shangling. Why?
Out of the frying pan, into the fire!
I'd like to just state that this is all your fault.
Dinner's gonna...
Not bad.
Oh, he didn't have any dice? Perfect.
Keep back!
I'm a rock!
Interesting.
I will protect you.
Where did I go wrong?
This team is actually busted. The only way to beat this deck is to not give me the chance to stall. Beat me as quickly as you can. And I'm gonna make it hard to do that.
Good game.
Or I don't know, build a stallier stall team, I guess. So Mundiona gets to go first. I don't really need the energies, now that I think on it. Don't need the food either. Right. I must see what I can buy in terms of equipment. I can get 2 of those. It is expensive though. Oh, I already have 2 white iron swords. This would be great for Jean. I'll go for archaic. My deck has been fully realized. I think. Now let's just try this out on our last available opponent left.
You want to play a game? Thought you'd never ask.
Let's go! Oh yeah, he specializes in bursts. Oh wow, look at this.
Need my help as usual?
Diona's purpose is to delay the enemy from getting to my two most important characters, which is Mona and Noelle. In other words, Diona's father. Her purpose is to die. That's fucking hilarious.
Scratch down.
Out of the way!
Wow, it's 3 damage.
you could bully me? Shadows of Fate!
Sure, I should have just re-rolled both of them. I know. All I actually need are cryo right now. And I got them. May as well see if I can get some Geo. Or any other pair. That works. Look at all these cards.
Delve into destiny. Steady as stone.
Come on, Hydro. Okay. You know what? Who needs Mona?
sails into destiny. Steady as stone.
He's ending his round. Pathetic.
As a dutiful maid would.
Don't push your luck.
Oh, I guess there's a maximum number of cards you can have. I think an Ellen just got.
Freeze!
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 cards is the max you can have on your hand, I guess. Oh, I'm frozen. Oops. I see, that was his plan. How did I not figure that out sooner?
This is destiny.
You won't have your fun for much longer.
Delves into destiny. I will protect you. I must leave no stone unturned.
Let's mix things up a little.
Written in the stars. It is as the stars foretold.
Nice. Yeah, how the hell does the dice decide when the physics don't do well? When the physics doesn't physics well.
Cool it!
Let me scribe.
No.
Delves into destiny.
Nice.
Decided by destiny. I will protect you.
What's he gonna do? Whoa. What? Also, you can have multiple of the same card? Oh. The more you know, I suppose. Oh my, that's unnecessary.
As a dutiful maid would. Couldn't break.
I see you've played this one before.
Oh, I win.
My reckoning has come.
I'm feeling the heat.
Nah, man. You're not feeling heat. Well, if it is, it's because you're stuck between a rock and a hard place.
I'm not done.
Yeah, I love this team. Damn. Oh well, I don't care about Kea anyway.
I've made such a fool of myself.
I asked for that. I always take so long on my turns. Because obviously it's a stall deck. It seems I'm all out of time. Lunch will be coming anytime now. I will be playing more Genshin though. Hell yeah. I can have 3 of those now. Oh no, it's a shiny version of the card. That's what that means. So 2 seems to be the maximum you can have of any of the same card. I do want a way to mitigate the energy cost, the dice cost. So maybe having done Winery will still be good. What should I get rid of? Honestly, now that I have this card seems useless. Because Geo is the die that I want the most. I can just use the rerolls. Rerolls give you a chance for Omni dice, which I think is still better than a guaranteed die of the same type as the active character. Like, what if I want Diona to get, but my active character is Mona right now? So the question now is, do I put in Dawn Winery? Or Changing Shifts? I'll try Changing Shifts for now. That one's free of charge, and like I hopefully won't need to use it too much anyway. Because if it ends up I need the one less elemental die more often than not.
Have you ever kept goldfish as pets? They're very cute.
Right, I wanna use this team to fight another really hard opponent in the tavern before I go, but first I gotta pee.
If we've got nothing else to do, why don't I tell you a story?
You look like you came from afar. Yes! And she should have a wide variety of cards if that's the case, which obviously means they're gonna be strong. Oh. Interesting. Well then, let's see how good Yoshimiya is. Great.
Leave it to me.
I got the card back.
Scratch that. apologies. I'm a rock. As you wish.
No rest for the wicked.
What the hell? I better not lose now. Oh, okay. Becca.
Steady as stone. The fuse is lit!
Wow. Didn't I play two Timmys at one point? Why did I think I could only play one location? One piercing damage, I'm fine with that. Oh, my burst is ready. Straight up. Well, whatever, I'm gonna play
Leave it
for
all to
burst
me.
anyway. The one energy
My
loss,
apologies.
technically, that I theoretically lost, doesn't really matter all that much.
Shadows of fate.
No rest for the wicked.
I'd like to fight a player. It's clear AI isn't a real challenge for me.
Shadows of fate. Much remains unfinished.
Her deck specializes in equipment. Yes.
Delve into destiny. Midnight Phantasmagoria.
I just need one more Hydro. And one Cryo, which I got now, so... that works.
Fate is upon you. Oz, reveal thyself.
Need my help as usual? Shaken and stirred!
One shall descend once again.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Dang.
Oh, I smell wine.
Fire hazard.
Oh well. I suppose it wouldn't be a close match otherwise. Becca! All I need is Geo, because I win. Ano palang kulang?
as a dutiful maid would.
A festive
Wow.
reprise!
What would you gain from doing that? That, I guess. I'm fine with Mona dying. Go ahead.
The stars are fading.
Oh!
But they still need me.
Damn. Well played. I suppose that deck has some merit. Anyway, I'm having lunch.